Charlotte Independent started its season back in March with a home game at Transamerica Field at UNC Charlotte. And that night, Independent started playing in sub 40-degree weather. In fact, it was 35 degrees at kickoff when Charlotte started its initial campaign against the Charleston Battery. Tonight, Charlotte will wrap up the regular season home campaign against Toronto FC2 amid some very threatening skies overhead, and just before we were about to sign on the air, lightning went off in the area. And for anyone who is familiar with Independence and what happened earlier this year in the game against Richmond that was held here at Ramblewood Soccer Complex, they don't mess around with lightning. And that game had all sorts of lightning back on June 26th. And that led to the game being called off at halftime. Here, we will have a 30-minute delay. I'm Jeff Hamlin, Patrick Daka by my side, and Patrick's just one of those things. Unfortunately, we did see a cell blowing through on one of your mobile phones that you have here. Being the Renaissance man that you are, you had a wonderful phone that could tell that exactly we were expecting another cell. We've had damp weather all throughout the day here in the Charlotte-Mecklenburg area, extending all the way over to Concord and Kannapolis, and it's continued up until game time.
Correct, Jeff, and it's going to be one of those things where we have to kind of, or the referees and the officials have to keep watching the weather. But the protocol goes for any lightning that you see or any thunder that you hear, the game has to be delayed 30 minutes.
That's right. And we're hearing rumblings right now, and just before we were about to go on the air here, the official announcement was made, a 30-minute delay. So hopefully that'll give the fans a little time to get together and come on into Ramblewood Soccer Complex. We are expecting soccer to be played tonight. We see this passing cell, and once the cell gets over us, it looks like we should have some pretty steady sailing for the most part for the rest of the night in terms of weather. But it's an important game for Charlotte and for Toronto FC2. Toronto FC2 tied with Charlotte a couple of weeks ago. In fact, back on August 29th, Charlotte got a late penalty, sounds familiar, from Ryan Finley in the 91st minute to notch a 2-2 tie in a game that really Toronto outplayed Charlotte. And Charlotte tonight comes in sixth place. They are above the red line. With a victory here tonight, they would tie Charleston for fourth place in the East. So we'll just have to see what happens with that. We are expecting to get the game in, but it will be delayed at least 30 minutes. So stay tuned to our YouTube channel here. We're going to stick it out here tonight, folks. It might be a long night, but it's going to be a night of soccer nonetheless. At least that's what we're expecting. And we thank our director and our technical staff for coming supplied with all sorts of tools to make sure that our equipment will stick around no matter how threatening this storm may or may not be. So, folks, we're going to sign off for right now. A 30-minute delay is what we're expecting here tonight at Ramblewood Soccer Complex is what we will have here. And then rejoin us here at about 7:35, 7:40 for a status update. And stay tuned also for our commentary bar during the live running chat, so you can stay up to date as to what's going on and when action will start up here tonight for a critical game, the regular season finale for Charlotte Independence. They have 3 games remaining, and this is their last one at home as they take on Toronto FC2. We're going to pause for 30 minutes, come back. Hopefully, once you rejoin us here, all that is threatened in terms of skies and thunderstorms will be in the past, and we can get some soccer in here tonight. Live from Ramblewood Soccer Complex, Jeff Hamlin with Patrick Daka. We'll talk again in 30 minutes. Jeff Hamlin and Patrick Daka here with you tonight. And the storm has come and gone, we're happy to say, and now the clouds are nowhere near as ominous as they have been. Off in the distance, we can see some daylight, some bright pink and no sunshine. You can tell it's now fall, and the lightning, for the most part, has gone, although a stroke just flashed off way behind us, but that appears to be well off in the distance. And sure enough, we will have soccer tonight as promised between Charlotte Independence and Toronto FC2. And what's going to be a huge matchup here tonight, Patrick, between both of these teams, because Charlotte, with a win, will tie for 4th place in the Eastern Conference.
Yes.
Meanwhile, Toronto is playing out the string as they have been knocked out of playoff contention for quite some time. They are in 11th place right now in the Eastern Conference with 22 points ahead of only the Wilmington Hammerheads on the Eastern Conference table. However, these two teams do have one thing in common, and it's the fact that they have important players missing this game because of yellow card accumulation. On Saturday night against the Wilmington Hammerheads, Paulo Del Piccolo received his 5th yellow, which means a mandatory 1-game suspension from the USL. However, in a related note, Toronto wound up losing not only an important player, but its top scorer because of yellow card accumulation after a 4-3 victory on Sunday over FC Montreal. Mo Babouli is going to miss tonight's contest as well because he picked up his 5th yellow of the season. And so now FC Montreal, after that loss, is going to watch on tonight and actually play. They're in the midst of playing the New York Red Bulls, and Toronto is going to have to make do without its leading player, its leading scorer. But we watched the Pittsburgh game, you and I, last time out here at Ramblewood, and the last game you and I did together here, and you noticed that a lot of the offense started through Paulo Del Piccolo for Charlotte.
That's correct. And he's going to be a big guy to miss today. But, you know, the good thing about Charlotte is that they have so many people, so many in their arsenal, that they will look at Enzo Martinez, who had a huge game last Saturday against Wilmington. Carlos Alvarez on his day is as good as anyone in the league. So they will be calling upon those guys to bring on their creative imaginations into the game today.
There's no question about that. Charlotte will not have Jorge Herrera in the starting lineup tonight, even though Jorge is back with the team after a 10-game absence after he had not played since July 4th. Jorge returned to action last week in a big way, assisting on the game-winning goal in Wilmington at Legion Field in a 1-0 Independence victory, and then after that, converting the penalty that came at the death. A controversial penalty for Charlotte, but a goal nonetheless, as they wound up notching the 2-2 draw against their Hammerheads. That was an important point because without it, Charlotte would be below the red line right now in the Eastern Conference table, but they got the draw. That was the important thing. And Charlotte right now finds themselves 1 point ahead of Pittsburgh, 2 points ahead of Harrisburg City for the 6th and final playoff spot. Remember that Pittsburgh, Charlotte, and Harrisburg City all have 3 games remaining in their schedule. Charlotte will play here tonight. This is their regular season home finale. They hope to be hosting a playoff game. And then they travel to St. Louis on Saturday, and Charlotte will wrap up the year with a critical game at Blackbaud Stadium against Charleston Battery, a team that's also playing for its playoff life. There are 2 things we know right now for sure in the Eastern Conference. Number 1, Rochester and Louisville City will make the playoffs. Number 2, Rochester is the regular season champion not only for the Eastern Conference but the entire USL after notching 54 points. Louisville City will also be guaranteed the 2nd spot, which means they will get a bye to the quarterfinals of the USL playoffs. Charlotte right now not only playing for a playoff spot but also playing for one of the home games in the opening round of the playoffs. Right now, Charlotte is 5 points back of New York, but as we mentioned, if Charlotte wins this evening, they will tie Charleston for 4th place. For the moment, Charleston controls the tiebreaker, but as we just told you, next weekend, Charlotte and Charleston will play in what is a vital game that will not only determine playoff spots, but also determine the winner of the Southern Derby. Let's set the starting lineup tonight here for Charlotte. In goal, once again, will be Jack Brunner. He's been the goalkeeper in the majority of the games this year for Independence. The back line got changed up yet again as early as today. It was announced that Merlin Hairston has been recalled by the Colorado Rapids just 1 week after he was sent back down to Charlotte. So Hairston's stay with Independence turned out to be a very brief one indeed, all of 2 games. So the back line now, once again, Patrick Slogic, the usual starter. This time at right back, it'll be Raphael Cox, who's alternated between the back line and midfield. While Duckett is the captain for tonight's game, he'll be in his center back position, and Henry Kalungi will also be on the back line. The midfield, Andrew Ribeiro once again making a start. Jet Metcalf is starting in place of Paulo Del Piccolo tonight. Danny Jackson will get the start at midfield. Enzo Martinez, the 4th man in the 5-man midfield front. And the 5th man in the group will be Carlos Alvarez. The forward will be Tomas Zahorsky. Also on the bench tonight, Jorge Herrera is listed, so he is available, along with other players like Caleb Calvert, who is also 1 yellow card away from being suspended for accumulation. The starting lineup tonight for Toronto FC in net, they're going to go with someone who plays only a handful of games. That is Alex Bono starting in net. He's not the regular goalkeeper. Usually it's Quillen Roberts starting in net for Toronto FC, but tonight they go with Bono. The back line will be Wesley Sharpie along with Skylar Thomas. Also coming aboard, Amika Anonye. And those will be 3 of the players starting on the back line. The midfield will be Manuel Aparicio, along with Anthony Osorio. They will also start Johnson and Edwards on that midfield line, and Bernal and Phillip will go on the front line. Rashawn Phillip wound up scoring 2 goals against FC Montreal on Sunday in what turned out to be an action-packed game between the 2 rivals in the Eastern Conference. So that's how Toronto FC will line up tonight. And right now, we're seeing a turf, and we managed to actually walk on the turf before we rejoined the broadcast here tonight, Patrick, and the turf's in pretty good shape considering how much it's rained today.
It poured down, Jeff, but the amount of rain that poured down and how this field has drained so far is unbelievable. So it's going to be a slick field, of course. It's going to be fast. It's going to be quick. The players have to be on their toes throughout the game. So it's an important aspect of the game, and the coaches obviously have taken their time to address that during the little break that we had, because the game is going to be approached just a little bit differently now.
There's no question about that, and the field here, just like everything else with this franchise, has been a work in progress over time, but we talked about how back when Charlotte first started playing games here at Ramblewood Soccer Complex against Charleston on June the 20th, that the field was not in the best of shape. However, things have really changed, and even after a rainstorm like that, the field is in very good shape right now. So as the procession begins here tonight, and the fans who have stuck it out here this evening at Ramblewood Soccer Complex greet the 2 teams as they make their way out onto the pitch here. It's going to be an important game between the 2 teams, obviously, with Charlotte playing for playoff importance, and certainly a lot of folks over in New York and in Charleston, Harrisburg City, Pittsburgh might be tuning in as well to see how Charlotte bounces out tonight. Charlotte will have 3 games, as we told you, still remaining. 2 teams that are ahead of Charlotte in the standings, Charleston and Richmond, have only 2 games remaining for the rest of the season. There are other contests going on tonight in USL, including one in the Eastern Conference. It will be FC Montreal going up against the New York Red Bulls 2. Of all the developmental teams in the Eastern Conference, right now the New York Red Bulls 2 appear to be the only squad that will wind up making the playoffs. Montreal coming off a rough weekend. They've lost 3 consecutive matches, and they've been outscored 10-2 during that stretch. Also coming up tonight in the Western Conference, a big game, the Colorado Springs Switchbacks. They have a chance to move in the first place in the Western Conference. They will host the Austin Aztecs tonight at Sand Creek Stadium. There have been 5 teams who have wound up making the playoffs in the Western Conference. So without any notification, the National Anthem of Canada, O Canada, begins playing over the speakers, but they skipped the starting lineups tonight because it sounds like they want to go ahead and just get the game going as much as or as quickly as they can. We're going to pause here for the playing of O Canada. Jason Bent is the head coach of Toronto FC2 in his first year as a head coach after 3 years as an assistant with the senior team in Toronto, MLS squad Toronto FC. He is a graduate of the University of Maryland, man who played a little bit of everywhere during his career. Bundesliga 2 in Germany, played with the Colorado Rapids of MLS during the early days of MLS in the mid-90s. He led the Rapids to the MLS Cup Championship game and also the U.S. Open Cup Championship game. This is his first season, of course, as the head coach of Toronto FC2, and his counterpart on the other sideline, Mike Jeffries, who has led Charlotte Independence to the second longest undefeated string this year in USL, 12 games in running. Charlotte, if they can make it 13 tonight, will guarantee themselves a winning season and will take another step toward what has been an unlikely run here to the playoffs. So lined up at center field will be Rashawn Phillip. And standing by at his side as well, Malik Johnson. Of course, Toronto FC2 in the red, Charlotte Independence in the blue. And we're underway in this critical game for Independence, the regular season home finale here tonight at Ramblewood Soccer Complex. But if Charlotte can keep playing well, there will be more games coming up here at Ramblewood in the playoffs. Alex Bono plays the ball to the far end of the field. And one thing we were doing during the rain delay, Patrick, was we managed to catch about 40 minutes of Toronto FC's 2 game against Montreal. And unfortunately for Toronto, they wound up giving up a goal in embarrassing fashion just 20 seconds into that game. Wesley Sharpie committed an own goal when Toronto took the opening kickoff. They were just looking to set up possession, and Sharpie got his wires crossed with his goalkeeper in that game.
Mm-hmm. But you can tell what they were trying to do when that happened. They are a team that likes to build out of the back, play through the thirds of the field, and turn the teams around by breaking the lines. They play quick and they move the ball around pretty quickly, and it's a pretty fluid team when it comes to movement off the ball. So that happened. The keeper stepped up a little bit too high. The ball bounced too badly for was it? I can't remember if it was.
It was Sharpie. Wesley Sharpie, yeah.
And Sharpie just mishit it, and it went over the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper had come out of his lines. waiting for a back pass. But again, just looking at these two teams here, Jeff, looks like Toronto is coming in a 4-2-3-1 formation, and Charlotte has gone the other way into a 4-1 formation. So it will be an interesting game of two contrasting formations, but the outside backs are key in this game.
Well, once again, Alex Martinez is missing this game for Charlotte tonight because of visa issues. He has not played since the New York Red Bulls 2 game here at Ramblewood back on August the 5th. So Charlotte now has gone over a month without Martinez. And, of course, it's been his brother Enzo Martinez who has stepped up. He has scored in 6 of the last 9 Charlotte contests. Patrick Slogic heads the ball up the field. It's taken back by 31 Sal Bernal, the Mexico native. Slogic sent that away. Slogic also committed an own goal in Charlotte's only other game against Toronto FC earlier this year. But Slogic bounced right back 2 minutes later and scored the equalizer. That was back on August 29th in what turned out to be a 2-2 game.
Look for Thomas as well, the big guy in the back, to get up on set pieces and put the headers on the ball.
And in fact,
he's scored a beautiful goal.
Oh, absolutely.
Against that Montreal team.
It was Skylar Thomas that Patrick is talking about, who's a big man who lines up on the front line, but he'll also go up the middle in set-piece situations. That pass denied by Duckett. Oh, nice sliding tackle by Cox. Got his spikes up high, but he made contact with the ball. Manuel Aparicio was the man who supplied Thomas that gorgeous header. And really, it all started with Aparicio with the service in the box that led to the second goal of the game for Toronto FC as they defeated their Canadian rivals. Sharpie goes up the right sideline looking for Bernal. Slogic bodies him off the ball. It has been an adventuresome time here for Independence. You saw the wild events this past Saturday night here against Wilmington Hammerheads. And by the way, thank you very much to Austin Ford, who sat in for me while I was taking care of some American football-related matters. Austin did a superb job here on YouTube. He's also the voice of the Charlotte 49ers women's soccer team, and you can catch him on the 49ers website. We encourage you to do so. Austin's a very, very good young play-by-play guy. It was great working with him.
He did a fantastic job. I enjoyed working with him, with Austin.
Charlotte playing tonight without Paulo Del Piccolo, as we mentioned earlier. Bilal Duckett scored his first professional goal of the season in that victory over the Wilmington Hammerheads that turned out to be the game winner. It was supplied from Paulo Del Piccolo. Now here comes Alvarez down the right side. Running hard to fetch it is Jackson. He'll get there in the corner. Supplies the cross, looking for Alvarez. That one's headed out quickly by Amika Anonye. Independence coming into this game tonight. At one point, they were 23rd. In fact, in mid-season, they were next to last in the league in scoring. They are now at 17th in USL with 33 goals. Running up the field strong. Raheem Edwards taken down, and there'll be a foul whistled. Andrew Ribeiro, who has been the Iron Man for this team with 2,135 minutes, whistled for the infraction. Sharpie, the attacking fullback, batted away by Cox. And John Burner comes out of net.
Jeff, that's the key thing for Toronto in this game and some of the games that we've seen them play. Their fullbacks are not afraid to go forward. They are not afraid to hold the ball and play. They want the ball to their feet. They're very fluid in their movement. So their attack is based on the fullbacks getting in the attack, but also patient build up, but with quick ball movement as well. So look for the attack, look for the outside backs for Toronto getting in the attack in this game.
We just saw an instance of that from Wesley Sharpie, and of course, as we mentioned earlier, Skylar Thomas, who had that gorgeous goal on a nice setup on Sunday against FC Montreal from Manuel Aparicio, who's in the starting lineup tonight. Scoring has been a problem at times for Toronto FC2 this season. At one point, they went 8 of 9 games without a goal. In that 9-game span, they only scored once, and that was against the Charleston Battery, a victory in Toronto for the team. It turned out to be among the surprising results of the year. Charleston just did not have any luck against the Canadian teams this year. They lost to FC Montreal and to Toronto. And that could be the difference between Charlotte and Charleston in terms of making the playoffs.
Correct.
Thompson plays it to the far side. Batted down. Ananye takes down Cox in the box without a call. Up the field. And Duck is there to cut it off as it was sent up the field by Robert Boscovich.
And credit to Cox, he didn't embellish that far. He knew there wasn't a call coming, so he got up and got on with his business. Some players would have thrown their hands up in the air, yelled at the referee, asking for a call, but then the game will be going. So you really are playing a man down when that happens.
Here comes Thompson back the other way. Jackson looks to leave it for Enzo Martinez. It was cut off by Boscovich and played up the field. Raheem Edwards controls for the Reds. Edwards wearing number 48 tonight. Rookie from Mississauga, Ontario, who played at Sheridan College. In fact, led Sheridan to the Canadian National Championship in college. Here's Cox back the other way from about 30 yards. A shot well out to the right. Raphael looking to provide a spark here for a Charlotte team that doesn't have Paulo Del Piccolo. While Paulo only has 1 assist thus far on the year, his steady movement in the midfield and his defensive presence is being missed thus far. Alvarez with the interception there.
And Raphael Cox doing something that we noted in the last few games as well, that Charlotte don't shoot enough from outside the box.
Zahorsky looks to control, does so. Right in front of 34, Manuel Aparicio. Independence, again, will go on the road to play St. Louis, and then next weekend the critical game at Charleston. But here tonight they look to get 3 points and tie Charleston for 4th. They'll do that if they get a win. Fans singing the Patrick Slogic song here off in the distance. That's at Jack's Militia on the Mech deck, which has become steadily more populated over the last few minutes. Duckett passes it to Zahorsky, who's playing much further up the field than usual. Danny Jackson's really occupying more of a striker role here tonight. Zahorsky doing some rare ball handling. Here's Alvarez on the right. Plays it for Jackson, the one touch. Goes out to Jack Thompson, the man who scored the first Independence goal. Whistles one across the top of the box. Cox will look to retrieve it, but can't. But he made a world-class slide that perhaps some of the coaches of the Charlotte Knights should take notice of if they're looking for a pinch runner for next season, now that the International League season has come to an end for the Knights. Toronto FC 2 has had 1 win per month this season aside from the month of May. They have 6 wins on the year, 6, 14, and 4. Good for 11th place in the East. Ball knocked away. Zahorsky was in danger, and then Ananye comes over and do what you're supposed to do, and that's clear the ball and put it in the parking lot. And that's literally what he did. The ball is bouncing outside the parking lot now into the practice fields adjacent to Ramblewood Soccer Complex.
That's a lonely ball right there now.
That's right. Zahorsky tried to send it up the field. That one's cut off and taken away. Skylar Thomas did the honors. Kalungi, who joined the team at midseason.
And he's done a fantastic job. I know you played outside back when he came on, and then Misha got called to
Haiti.
the Haiti national team, and then he moved into central midfield. He's done a fantastic job in the midfield.
Hey, congratulations to Midshak Jerome and the rest of the Haitian team. They defeated Grenada in that home-and-home stretch, so they have advanced now to the semifinal round of CONCACAF World Cup qualifying. They'll be in the same group with Costa Rica and Jamaica, as well as Panama. They'll be in Group B.
That's a good group to be in. That's a strong group to be in.
And in fact, Mishak scored in the opening leg of that home-and-home series with Grenada, as the Haitians once again succeeded. Mishak has had a very good international year, great year all around. Nearly scored against America in the Gold Cup. Here's Zahorsky. Had a free kick in the 10th minute that just skipped off the crossbar at the Georgia Dome in Atlanta. Alvarez comes up from behind, late foul whistled. Malik Johnson was interfered with.
The ref is going to have some words with him there.
So Malik Johnson coming on tonight, making his first start in 2 weeks. He's starting alongside Raheem Edwards, who we told you has played with Sheridan College up in Ontario. That's where the vast majority of these players come from, in the Toronto FC Academy. That's Aparicio. Picked off by Martinez, and then he has the ball kicked away. He'll wind up in Skylar Thomas's possession. Thomas from Scarborough, Ontario, just like 4 of his teammates on this team, just outside of Toronto. Good long ball down the field provided by Ananye. Thompson is there to provide it and put it out of trouble. Or excuse me, it's Metcalf. 12 minutes in here tonight after a rain delay. Held us up for about 45 minutes at Ramblewood Soccer Complex. But we're happy you're with us, and it looks like the worst of the weather is now in the rearview mirror.
A rain delay, Jeff, or any kind of delay to a game messes up the players' psyche, because when they're warming up to start the game on regulation time, they're already in their mindset, they're ready to play, they're ready to go. When you have another 45 minutes of waiting in the locker room, coaches find that difficult to keep the boys motivated and also concentrated on the game, because in their minds they've already started playing. So when they come out, it falls on the coaches and the captains and the leaders on the team to keep everybody sharp, and that's a very difficult thing to do.
It certainly has to be, considering that Charlotte wanted to be mentally prepared to go at 7 o'clock here tonight, and they have to turn right back around and catch a plane in a day or two to fly out to St. Louis. And even though St. Louis is out of the playoff race, they always have a very good crowd, at least they have so far this season, waiting for them in the Arch City. 5,500 fans and strong usually on hand in the city of Arches.
And those teams that are out of the playoffs are the most difficult teams to play against, because they have nothing to lose. They have nothing to play for. They just out there having fun and to spoil the party, of course, for Charlotte.
And, of course, Toronto FC, too, fits that mold tonight. It's been that way for much of the past month for them. They've been well out of the playoff chase for quite some time.
It's a good thing as well for organizations or franchises that are in that situation. They can call upon their younger players or their academy players to come out and get some first team game experiences. And you can see that with Toronto, and we talked about this earlier, their team is younger. The average age is below 23, is that way we said, we figured it out. But again, it gives those players a chance to experience the first team game.
Here's Martinez, Ribeiro. Slogic thought about it from distance, thought better of it. Martinez opts to the right, Cox with a touch. Metcalf goes in the box. That one shielded right back out by Anthony Osorio. Metcalf will run it down. You were talking about that, and that's exactly what Toronto FC has done. You take a look at all the players that have played for them this year. They've had 46 players.
That's a big roster.
It's like being a member of Spinal Tap. They've had 38 people in the band, or Megadeth for that matter. They've had 34. Not that I'm a Megadeth fan or anything.
It's good for the young players. It's
Absolutely.
really
Being a Megadeth? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, yeah, that's right. Good pass up ahead. Jackson looks for Zahorski, the back heel.
Okay.
Well, tricky play there. Very creative, but Alex Bono was there.
Yeah, that ball was just slightly behind Zahorski. It made the right run, the correct run. The ball was played perfectly, but it was just slightly behind him. So maybe perfectly is not the word, but the ball was slightly behind him. Zahorski had to improvise. Good touch, though.
Nice pass that time by Jackson, who's been patrolling the wing more. Usually he's more of a center midfielder. Jackson vying for that free ball, and he wins it as it goes off of Robert Boscovich to the far end of the field. Scoreless here in the 16th minute.
The good thing about Zahorski is when you put crosses in, you put balls in the box, you know Zahorski will be there attacking them. He will attempt to put something on. Last Saturday, he had one chance right on the line that he just could not push past the line. And everybody in the stadium felt for him. So I'm pretty sure he's looking to rectify that issue today.
Boy, a tremendous clean challenge right there by Ribeiro, and that's one of the reasons why he has been so prominent in this lineup as he wins that ball from Sal Bernal.
He's a key guy in this midfield.
No question about that. Andrew Ribeiro from Creighton University, native of Green Bay. He's going to be very glued to the tube this weekend when Green Bay and Aaron Rodgers start their campaign. He is a huge Packers fan. Played for Chivas USA in 2014, and tonight he's playing his 26th game with Independence, and that's not counting Open Cup play. He also went the whole way in Charlotte's friendlies against the Carolina Railhawks and against UNC Charlotte, or Charlotte 49ers as they're known now. Metcalf puts it in the box off the free kick. Shielded away, looking to head it out. Edwards winds up near Zahorsky, and then an opportunity for Slogic, deflected off the leg, and it goes out of play. Ananye managed to disrupt it.
Slogic is saying, I've done this before against this team. He wants to do it again.
That's right. And that score off a corner. And of course, it has been Slogic who has scored 3 goals this year. He scored the first game winner in franchise history against Louisville City. Lining up Enzo Martinez. Angles it in. Slogic was there. He got shoved. No call. Martinez from distance over the crossbar. So Enzo levels one from about 25 yards out, and in the absence of his brother, Enzo Martinez has quietly been very, very good in his 3rd professional season, all USL in week 23 after a 3-point game here at Ramblewood Soccer Complex against the Pittsburgh Riverhounds.
It's not only his creativity, Jeff, it's his work rate now. He's winning tackles, he's chasing and tracking people back. So that helps when you have a player as gifted as he is on the ball, doing all that other physical work on the field.
That's right. He's a hard-working player who graduated from NC State. Of course, his brother wound up graduating from UNC. Up the field comes Aparicio. Bounces off the leg of 52.
That's Lichfield.
Yes, that was Rashad Phillip, who's playing only his 5th game in a Toronto FC2 uniform. Long run up the field here. Jackson makes a play for it, but Bono will let it roll to him. Or Bono, I should say. That's the U2 fan in me coming out. Nowadays, you have to say Bono instead of, because you're just inclined to do that since U2 is such a legendary group, but it is Bono.
Yeah.
Thomas up the field. His pass intercepted. Duckett. Now Alvarez to the right. Zahorsky plays it for Danny Jackson. Martinez and Jackson play for the Carolina Railhawks on the other end of the state last year. Here in Charlotte, they're looking to lead Independence to the playoffs. Good long ball here. Looking to catch up with it is Phillip. He'll do so. Steps in front of Duckett. Plays it back, letting it loose. And the save is made. John Brunner comes out, makes the play right in front of the net. He's still wearing that protective mask after suffering a broken cheekbone in the 2nd round of the U.S. Open Cup against the aforementioned Carolina Railhawks. 20 minutes in here tonight. Nothing's wrong with your computer, folks. It is 20 minutes in. Even though this game was supposed to start at 7, we had a rain delay, and 34 is still down. That's Aparicio, as he made a sliding attempt in a tackle, and he's pulled up lame. Still favoring his right leg. Here's Bernal, and he'll send it out of play to let his teammate recover. Had a lightning delay that held us up just as we were supposed to begin here this evening. But unlike the Richmond game back in June, the rain went away, and we are still going to play here tonight. This is the start of a 4-game road swing for Toronto that will conclude its season. After this game, they'll go back to upstate New York to go up against the regular season champions, the Rochester Rhinos. And what a year Rochester has had, starting off the year, breaking the franchise record for an undefeated string to begin the year, and still they've only lost 1 time. It was on this field to Independence. Aparicio now going off, and this has to be a great concern here for head coach Jason Bent, because right now, without his top playmaker in the game, Mo Babuli, due to yellow card accumulation, it looks like that they're going to be short some players. Charlotte will concede possession, and it doesn't look like a substitution will be needed.
No, I think it's one of those rules where if the medical staff comes onto the field, the player has to come off the field for a little bit and then re-enter the field.
So Aparicio is back out there. We resume action with Duckett, trying to shield the ball away from Rashad Phillip, who had 2 goals against FC Montreal to earn a spot for the first time on the USL team this week for week 25 of the year. Backheel play for Alvarez is thwarted by Thomas. Here comes Bernal back up ahead. Aparicio. Phillip. There to get a hand on it was Ribeiro.
Toronto not afraid to play under pressure at all, passing the ball to guys with 2, 3 guys around them, but they'll still come out with the ball. Their feet on the ball, very soft, but the movement of the ball is fantastic.
If you saw the second goal that Toronto scored against Charlotte in the first game between these two teams, we have a foul called here against Toronto. Jay Chapman wound up scoring on what was a gorgeous 18-pass goal. It was a chain of 18 passes, and if you go back and watch that game, it was Wesley Sharpie who had the most important play of that sequence as he sent a gorgeous ball to the middle of the field right in between 3 Charlotte players, and it ultimately led to a goal. Nice pass up ahead here. Martinez to Jackson. Plays it in front. Zahorski just got tangled up. Zahorski recovers, and he scores. So let it be written. So let it be done. Tomas Zahorski scores in the 23rd minute.
You must have been thinking, what, my luck again, because that ball came in and he missed it, just like he did on Saturday, but this time he recovered and swept it in across. Beautiful play, though. Beautiful link-up play by Charlotte on the right side there. Started off with the free kick, and Toronto didn't touch the ball at all. It went to the outside, back to the midfield, back again into the outside, and a fantastic through ball. Jackson, who's been playing fantastic this past, he plays the ball across, and like we said, Zahorski is a willing man. When you put a cross in, he's there.
So Danny Jackson should get an assist on that, and that might be a hockey assist situation where Enzo Martinez will factor in on it as well. But what we know for sure in USL action, that is the 3rd goal of the year for Zahorski. If you include the U.S. Open Cup, that's his 7th. Remember, Zahorski had a hat trick in the first round game against Northern Stars, a semi-pro team out of Spartanburg, South Carolina, and then he came right back and scored in the round of 16 against the Chicago Fire. That was the only tally of the night for Charlotte and what went on to be a 3-1 defeat. So Charlotte leads 1-0 in the 23rd minute. No announcement of the goal as of yet. It was Zahorski, we think, from Jackson that should get an assist, and perhaps Enzo Martinez will factor in on it as well. Here's Cox on the near sideline to Slogic. Speaking of the U.S. Open Cup, that will wrap up on September 30th with Sporting Kansas City going up against Philadelphia Union. For the 2nd straight year, PPL Park will host the Open Cup championship game. Last year it was Seattle winning it over the Union. On the right, as Toronto looks for an equalizer, Sal Bonal puts it in the box. Burner comes out, and off his line, he steps in front of Phillip to make the play. Well, Thomas whiffed at the first opportunity as Bono got a hand on that one, but Bono wound up leaving his net. That left a couple of outfielders to patrol the line, and ultimately Zahorski on his back put it in. And Charlotte leads 1-0 off that. Here's Raheem Edwards, almost riding the back of Metcalf, who can't believe there wasn't a foul called, and Metcalf is screaming about it. Through ball here, Wesley Sharpie will take over on the right, 1v1 against a fellow back, and Patrick Slogic. That one headed out of danger by Belial Duckett. Aparicio, Sharpie. Osorio plays it along for Thomas. He was looking for Phillip. Now here comes Bernal down on the right. Moves in strong against Slogic, and that one cleared away by Kalungi. Sharpie tries to restart the offense. Bernal, the Mexico native. Cox steps in. Oh, nice move along the end line. And Charlotte look to go coast to coast here and attempt to clear. Cox will succeed in doing so, though it was a poor clearance. As you could tell, the wet turf got to him there.
It got to him, but he was trying to just float the ball nicely to Zahorski to hold up play and then have people run up to support. But you can see that Toronto, they are not afraid to run at people. They're not afraid to play in tight spaces. They move the ball around pretty nicely and pretty slick. all the time trying to look for numbers up situations, trying to unbalance the other team by moving the ball from side to side, back
Right.
and forth. They're very patient in their build-up, but it's very quick build-up as they go forward. So Charlotte will have to maintain their shape and maintain their discipline and not give up silly free kicks or easy free kicks on top of the box.
And unfortunately, they have been guilty of that at times tonight here, Patrick.
Yes.
Osorio supplies the free kick, but Berner interfered with somewhat as he comes down with the ball. And now the head official will come on, and he will have a lecture, as John is not shy about sounding off whenever he feels like he's been interfered with. That time, Robert Boscovich made a little bit of contact more than Berner would have preferred.
And the referees will always protect goalkeepers in those situations.
We're in the 28th minute with Charlotte leading 1-0. Off a goal from Tomas Ohorski, we have not had an announcement of an assist as of yet. Bono standing on the goal mouth. We'll let it roll to him.
An important goal as well as the clock winds down and the visiting team gets settled into the game. It gets more and more difficult, but now Charlotte have the upper hand and they can settle into the game a little bit easier now, but try to control the tempo of the game and how the direction of this game goes.
Well, of the 25, let's check that here. Of the 24 games that Toronto FC has played this year, they've been shut out 12 times. So they have been guilty at times of leaving a goose egg up on the scoreboard. Of course, it wasn't that way a week and a half ago when Charlotte wound up giving up 2 to this squad. Here's Kalungi, Slogic, and John Brunner will take it back. Tomas Ohorski was all USL week 20 after goal and assist against Rochester. Skylar Thomas ahead. That one's cut off by Carlos Alvarez, who'll charge back. Cox will take over on the left. Looks to put the cross in far side, but no one's there. Zahorski in his 12th professional season, a native of Poland, playing his 15th game. This is his 11th start. Again, that's only in USL action. If you count US Open Cup games, that number increases to 14 starts. Kalungi trying to field a tricky ball there that was supplied by Ananye. You see the Met deck, and fans in Jack's Militia hope to populate that deck one more time before the end of this season. To do that, Charlotte will have to finish in 3rd or 4th place in the Eastern Conference table. They took a big step toward that tonight by scoring the opener here in the 23rd minute from Zahorski. Nice pass here by Martinez. He found the open Alvarez. Cox now assumes command. Here's Raphael charging in. The Washington native with an overstep. Puts it on line. Bono was there to field that cleanly. Bono, once again, is someone who doesn't play all that often. He's the second string goalkeeper for Toronto. Usually the starter is Cullen Roberts.
Sorry. Raphael Cox was always thinking about shooting in that situation. There's no way he was thinking about passing because Slogic had made a fantastic run on his left side. And if he had just waited just a little bit or connected maybe a pass with the forward a little bit, that would have given Slogic time to get into position. And now we're attacking, Independence is attacking with numbers. But still, not a bad idea to take a shot from outside the box. It's only that he used his weaker foot and it was a weaker effort. But we saw a weaker effort go in last week.
That's true.
Berner.
Yeah.
He probably has still that in his mind in this game today. But I know that the coaches have done probably a fantastic job with him and just preparing him mentally when those shots come in.
I would imagine in a situation like that, John probably went to bed and may not have had very much sleep that night, thinking about what was almost certainly the softest goal Independence has yielded this year against Wilmington. That was the opener that came in the second half.
Made some fantastic saves up.
Oh, certainly. Charlotte was indeed fortunate to get a point from that game against the Hammerheads the other night. Here tonight, they played very well. Despite Toronto making some runs, they haven't had very many threatening chances over the last 10 minutes. Foul will be called here on Jackson. And the ball kicked away by Metcalf, and that's going to lead to another lecture.
And Metcalf's got to be careful there not to concede a silly yellow card, an unnecessary yellow card for delay of game.
Boscovich Rashawn Phillip. Here's Sharpie to the right. Bernal will take it to the corner. Bit of a height differential here. The 5'8" Bernal going up against the 6'6" Slogic. And now down goes Sharpie. Cox caused him to go down, and Raphael, despite his pleas to the contrary, is going to wind up getting a yellow out of this. And for Raphael, that will be his 3rd yellow of the year. So that's the first play on the book tonight here in the 32nd minute, and that's going to trigger a free kick from Anthony Osorio.
But now, even though he's smaller, he's very good at finding his own space or creating his own space, but he's also very good with his feet. So Slogic is very careful right now not to dive into tackles, just hold his position, make sure that he doesn't give anything too easy, because Benau is a tricky player.
So it's going to be Osorio triggering it in, and again, we urge you to keep an eye on Skylar Thomas and that big body that goes in front of the net. Thomas was there, but Berner provides a double fist to slam it away. Metcalf tries to clear. That one's knocked down by Berner. Martinez will take it back, looking at Cox momentarily. Thought better of it. Here's Enzo going across the field. Danny Jackson with a good diagonal pass from Enzo Martinez. Charlotte with a threat. Martinez stripped away by Boscovich and out of play. That was very similar to the pass we saw from Brazil last night. Of course, it didn't lead to a goal in this situation. It led to a penalty last night for the Brazilians. Martinez from the top of the box, and Bono had to swallow it up.
The Brazilians put on a clinic last night.
Oh, my. Did you see that pass that was supplied there that led to the penalty right at the beginning, right about the 40th minute? A 50-yard diagonal pass that led to the penalty. That was as gorgeous as it gets. And now Tree comes away with an impressive win over Argentina last night at Jerry World in Dallas. In front of it. In fact, the turf there in Dallas, contrasted to what we're seeing here tonight, it was
difficult.
It was very difficult, to put it mildly, that those players were playing on last night. Here tonight, even with rain, the players still dealing with much better footing. At least we think so. Here's Metcalf. Martinez will take it back now. Sherrill will look to counter against 5 red defenders. Jackson assumes command. Danny plays the cross in, and that was headed out over the end line. That will be the 2nd Charlotte corner of the game.
Martinez is the key guy here for Charlotte, pulling all the strings in midfield and making sure that the attack is supplied with clean passes. He does it so patiently and so deceivingly. You feel like he's just not going anywhere with it, but then all of a sudden he makes a fantastic pass. You're like, okay,
that's right.
That's what he was waiting for.
Well, we've seen that time and time again over the last 6 weeks when Charlotte has needed it more than ever with Herrera and Martinez. Alex Martinez out of the lineup. Good corner sent in that time very well by Jack Metcalf. That was headed out. Alvarez keeps it in play. Raheem Edwards tries to field it back for Toronto but fails. Ribeiro now controls. Charlotte up 1-0. Jackson to Alvarez. In the 35th minute, the goal came from Zahorski in the 23rd. Jackson plays the cross. Bono has to come out and make the play. That one looked dangerous with Zahorski in the area. Now a long ball put forward by Bono, and Berner communicating with Duckett that will allow him to pick it up. We'll try to get some other scores from games going on tonight. There are a few others. We mentioned New York Red Bulls 2 playing Montreal tonight in a matchup of 2 academy teams. Here's Slogic on the overlap now. Good feed from Cox. Slogic still battling Skylar Thomas for it. Still going after it. Ball winds up at the end line. Bono, realizing that ball was going to be off Toronto, makes a very good play in rescuing it and not conceding a corner. And he sends the ball 60 yards up the field. Nice play by Bono. Alvarez takes it back. 1-0, Charlotte with the lead from a goal from Tomas Zahorski on an assist from Danny Jackson. May have been more, in fact. We'll check with the scores 10 at half. Here's Osorio. Boscovich. Malik Jackson controls.
He's very good on the ball.
Aparicio now running to the right. He'll fire. No danger there. We talked about Aparicio. He is a native of Buenos Aires, Argentina, but he moved to Canada at a very young age. And one thing that a lot of these Toronto players have in common is the fact that many of them played with the Wilmington Hammerheads last season. But last year, Wilmington had a working agreement with Toronto FC. And as we're seeing more and more in USL, MLS teams want to have a squad, a developmental team that's closer to home. And that's the reason why Lehigh Valley now has a team, because they're going to become a partner with Philadelphia Union. That's why you're seeing Rio Grande Valley become a partner with the Houston Dynamo. And I think that's going to become more apparent all across the league here, Patrick.
That is, but it's also very good because it cuts down on the cost for travel for players if they have to move in between clubs, like we saw Marlon just left.
That's right.
It's an expense for the club, but it's also too much traveling for the players as well. But it keeps them within the familiar surroundings.
That's right.
Familiar environment, so to speak.
They want an academy surrounding, which of course you're familiar with here, and try to train these players in your system, not someone else's system that may be 1,000 miles away.
Exactly, and you have no control for what that academy does or how they develop their players. So at least when it's closer to you, you can monitor their developmental program and see how your players are doing in that situation.
An interception by Cox leads to Martinez going down, and that looks like it's going to be a card here against Anthony Osorio. Enzo is still down. Osorio being lectured a lengthy amount of time, and he's given the yellow. Our second booking of the game that comes in the 38th minute. It was Cox, ironically, who set that all up because Rafael was the first man in the book tonight. Right now, the Wilmington Hammerheads have an agreement with the New York City FC squad, but unfortunately that hasn't worked out for them quite as well this season in terms of points in the standings.
No, not in terms of standings, but in terms of the quality that they've produced. The Wilmington team plays some fantastic. One thing I like, or what I've seen the USL product has produced, is the quality of the games, or the quality of the players that they're playing. The quality of the games that they play is so high.
Yep.
MLS teams have to be happy loaning out their players to USL teams.
Absolutely. Enzo Martinez called offside here, first offside infraction of the game, and that one looked iffy. Danny Jackson once again had a setup there for Charlotte that was thwarted by Skylar Thomas. Well, certainly the product of play has increased all across the board here in what is now a 24-team league that's going to increase as the years go on. Already 3 franchises committed for next year with FC Cincinnati, Rio Grande Valley, and Lehigh Valley coming in, and there will be more, perhaps as soon as next year. Slogic, with Charlotte leading 1-0 off the goal from Tomas Zahorski. From Danny Jackson that came in the 23rd minute, Zahorski fielded it right in the mouth of the goal, well inside the 6-yard box. Martinez.
And being patient as the clock winds down right now towards the break. Charlotte just maintaining possession, just being patient in their build-up.
Jackson sprints for position on the throw-in. Martinez plays it for him in the deep corner. Now takes it, goes to the top of the box, but that will be intercepted by Sal Bernal.
Idea was good on the pass, but the execution just wasn't very good. He scooped it up in the air. I think his idea was maybe to play it on the ground for Cox to finish.
Slogic dribbles it to the top. Looks for a diagonal cross. That one's headed away by Sharpie, or excuse me, Boscovich. And a foul will be whistled as some jostling went on between Rashawn Phillip and Ribeiro.
Not sure right there. Probably the first call. I don't agree with the referee. Both men were tussling for the ball. Ribeiro was just holding himself away from the opposition player from Phillips. Not sure that was a call at all, but ref saw it differently.
Sharpie takes it back from Bernal. One touch by Phillip. Aparicio. Nicely done. Here's Malik Johnson. Aparicio tried to continue it into the box, but that was cut off by Metcalf. Into Martinez, corkscrews on the right. In the 42nd minute now, Cox was listed as someone who was playing on the back line tonight. Really, he's been a forward more than anything else here, Patrick.
Yes. And I think the surprise was Cox and Metcalf, because Metcalf was listed as a midfielder, playing up a little bit higher, but now he's playing on the right back, and Cox is playing, obviously, forward.
Almost a striker.
Yep.
Sharpie ahead to Bernal. The Reds come back once again. Here's Johnson. Down he goes, and Slogic wound up fouling him, and the referee took no time at all in removing the yellow card from his back pocket. And even though Patrick is walking away from him, he's the one who'll be booked. Referee still wants Patrick to come over and let him know he's been officially hit with this yellow here. Toronto is ready to restart action immediately. And for Slogic now, that puts him at 4 yellow cards on the year, so the next one will lead to a suspension.
The fans obviously not very happy with that decision, but Slogic had his hands all over Bernal on that one. Definitely a yellow card.
So Aparicio, after Slogic becomes the 3rd man in the book tonight, puts it in, headed out by Duckett very nicely. Back to the other end, Osorio. Raheem Edwards working hard against Jackson, gets past him, still on the inline. Edwards brings it in the box, tip free. Great work that time by Raheem Edwards, and it leads to a Toronto corner.
Strong, quick, good feet. Raheem Edwards is a tricky customer. They've got to watch him on that left side. He's going to cause some problems as this game progresses.
Raheem Edwards played in League One Ontario, a semi-pro league last year. Puts in the corner. That one's headed out by Ribeiro. Osorio looks to keep the ball in, does so. Edwards far sideline. That one's blocked away and out of play. Block put in by Martinez. Edwards launches a cross to the far post. Sal Bernal will get there. This is Johnson. Make that Phillip. Sharpie on the right side. He's marked by Alvarez. Phillip to Sal Bernal. He'll enter the box against Rafael Cox. Phillip to the right, coming off a 2-goal game. Bernal, Sharpie rather, had that cross knocked away, and Cox will not concede the corner. He'll give up a throw. Rafael in his trademark pink shoes. Toronto trying to lurk now. This is the most offense they've had in one possession in quite some time. Osorio to Sharpie. He'll play it to the center of the box, looking for Aparicio, but it's a little beyond his grasp. We'll take a look and see how much time will be added on here as Charlotte scored in the 23rd minute. Tomas Zahorski scored the opener, and that's all we have for you in terms of scoring this far tonight. As Independence looks to tie Charleston for 4th in the Eastern Conference table. John Berner with a long goal kick. Zahorski gets a running start after it, winds up losing it. Boscovich got there first. Once again, it's Johnson. Entering on the right side, he was looking for Bernal, but that was headed out nicely by Slogic. Sharpie will man the ball. Tries to play to the right, deflected by Cox, winds up in Phillips' feet, and he's stripped away by Carlos Alvarez. We're in added time now. Alvarez charges down against Bernal. Carlos still going. Moves down the left flank, looking for someone to trail the play. Enzo Martinez mans control at midfield. Charlotte looking for insurance now. There'll be 1 minute of extra time here, and we're probably well into that. Metcalf. Here's Ribeiro. Enzo Martinez escapes a tackle attempt by Boscovich. The 3rd-year man from NC State. Stripped away by Boscovich, and it's taken away by Edwards. But Enzo won't be denied. Takes it right back and draws a foul. Excellent work by Enzo Martinez. Enzo just would not stay free from that ball. He would not be denied. He continued the pressure, and that leads to a free kick. With time wilting away here in the first half. So Metcalf, looks like the ball's going to be about 38 yards from net. Interestingly, Slogic is not lining up on the front here. It's going to be Zahorski, Duckett, and Danny Jackson, along with Kalungi. Now Slogic comes up. Here's the ball put in by Metcalf. That is worked free by Thomas. He will clear it away. Toronto tries to mount a counter, but can't. Ribeiro should be winding down here in the first half. Jackson works to keep it in play, but can't. And as we wind down play here in the first half, Independence has the score right where they want it at 1-0. They'd love to have more, of course, as the first half whistle sounds, but regardless, it was the experience of the 30-year-old Tomas Zahorski, and he stuck with it on the goal that Charlotte scored. And you mentioned it, Patrick, the continuing excellent play by Danny Jackson that started on July 4th against St. Louis FC when he scored. As a surprise sub off the bench, he winds up getting his first assist of the season in Charlotte's only tally here in the first half.
Jackson is key to this Independence attack. And I was just noting down here the players that are effective on the field, not really just effective, but that are fundamental to Coach Mike Jeffrey's team. You're looking at Ribeiro, stopping everything that's coming through the midfield, destroying everything that Toronto is trying to build or throw at Independence. Talking about Enzo Martinez. Enzo, again, his work rate, his defensive abilities now, but also his creativity. But then you're talking about Jackson. Every attack that Independence have created that has produced some danger for Toronto has gone through Jackson.
That's right.
And he's been a big guy in terms of his speed, his strength, and his ability to deliver good crosses in the box.
Well, in many respects, he's filling the role that Paulo Del Piccolo usually plays for
Correct.
Independence, but of course, Paulo not available tonight because of accumulation. 1-0, Charlotte Independence halfway to 3 very big points in the standings. We're going to pause for 10 minutes. Stay with us here tonight on YouTube. You've already waited through a rain delay. Why go through now? Why go away now? We're going to come right back at you here and get ready for the second half. The halftime score from Ramblewood Soccer Complex, Toronto FC trailing Independence 1-0. Stay with us. I'm Jeff Hamlin with Patrick Daka. Jeff Hamlin back with you with Patrick Daka here tonight at a rainy and soggy Bramblewood Soccer Complex. And despite a 40-minute rain delay, with torrential showers passing before us just as we were set to kick off between Charlotte Independence and Toronto FC2, we did get underway here this evening, and Charlotte scored the only goal of the first 45 minutes as they wound up scoring from Tomas Zahorski in what officially is an unassisted goal. We talked to the scorekeeper during halftime at the scores tent across the field, and they ruled that Zahorski would have given Danny Jackson an assist if he had scored on the first attempt. And as you'll see on the replay here in just a second, Zahorski wound up not scoring on the first try on the initial service given by Danny Jackson, but he did score off the rebound. Alex Bono did get a hand on the first shot, but Zahorski will get credit for the goal, just unassisted. So we stand corrected in saying that Danny Jackson got an assist on the play, where in fact he did not. But still, Charlotte leads 1-0 here at the half in what is an extremely important game. One thing that jumps out here, when you think of Charlotte here this year, Patrick, it's the fact that they don't give up very many shots. They are next to last in the league in saves at 70, and that's the 5 goaltenders that have started, 4 goalkeepers rather, that have started for Charlotte. They've only had to make 70 saves. That says a lot about the back line because they don't concede very many shots.
Yeah, it says a lot about the back line, but it also says a lot about the players that are playing in front of the back line. The midfield is strong and they do a lot of good defensive work. Then the defensive line doesn't have to do so much work. But again, not taking anything away from the back line, they've done a fantastic job. And I think Kalunji coming in with Bilal, Mishek when he's back, when he's on the team, they do a fantastic job as well in there. And Slogic, he's another guy. He's an unsung hero. The amount of work he puts in the back is not mentioned as much as everybody else, but he does a lot of work.
Well, there's no question that Slogic's contribution to this team really goes to the entire back line. But Slogic, you would think with somebody who's 6'6", he would be a lumbering player that wouldn't have very much speed. He wouldn't be an attacking fullback. Slogic is able to go up against the smallest player on Toronto FC2, at least starting tonight, Sal Bernal, and match up 1v1 against him. And there are other players just like that as well.
Yeah, and Bernal is a tricky player. He changes direction quickly. He's very good with his feet. He's able to do moves and trick players to get through. But Slogic just holds his position and sets his feet before he puts in a tackle. He's very conscious of the fact that Bernal is a smaller player, so any sort of contact that may send him down may be a free kick. So
that's right.
He's playing very smart right now, at least in the first half he was.
Taking a look at other games going on tonight in USL, we mentioned that the New York Red Bulls 2 are playing against FC Montreal. They are scoreless at last word in the 76th minute. Tomas Zahorski lines up over the ball, and we are all set here and ready to go in the second half as Independence leads 1-0, and with a victory, they will tie Charleston for 4th place. Danny Jackson lines up on the right side as we begin the second half, and no substitutions have been made except for one, and that is Jorge Herrera. He is now in the game. So Jorge is in the contest now, and it looks like that he has replaced Rafael. No, he hasn't replaced Cox. Looks like he's replaced Enzo Martinez because Cox is to the left. So there's one substitution for Charlotte, and the second leading scorer on the team, Jorge Herrera, with 14 points behind only Ryan Finley's 15, comes into the game now. Jorge coming off a 3-point contest on Saturday against the Wilmington Hammerheads. Boscovich with a giveaway. Danny Jackson tries to elude him. He gets to the ball. He can't. Raheem Edwards. One touch, Phillip. Back to Raheem. Now Aparicio. Looks like Toronto's lineup has stayed the same. Bernal charges in on the right against Cox and Slogic, a 1v2. Still got the ball in the box, but Duckett denies it.
with Enzo Martinez gone and Jorge Herrera coming in, it looks like Independence have gone to a more defensive-minded formation with two holding midfielders, Alvarez dropping back to help Ribeiro, and Jorge just being in front of them, just a little bit behind us, Zahoski up top. I think I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure if Enzo Martinez is hurt or has been playing a lot of minutes and they need to rest him up a little bit. Jorge is a very good player as well. He's very good with his feet, very good assists. He's got an eye for goal. But the work rate that Enzo Martinez has been putting in the last few games has been key to how the Independents have been producing the results that they've produced. Hopefully Jorge will step in and continue that progress.
Well, one thing that Mike Jeffries has tried to do with Jorge Herrera is he tries to ease him gradually back into the lineup from the calf injury that kept him out for 10 games.
Yes, and he's not getting any younger.
No.
So those injuries take a little longer to heal. So
Jorge, the most experienced player on the field in his 15th professional season. He is 34 years old. What a challenge by Alvarez, and he wins the ball away. Down the field he comes against Aparicio. Plays it along. Cox with a line drive. Looking for his first goal of the year. Bono managed to handle that.
I think Cox was looking to bend that ball just into the run of Zahoski and Jorge, who was sprinting in. But he didn't catch it right, so it went straight to the goalkeeper on the near post.
Toronto with only one shot on goal in the first half. They had just 3 shots overall in the first 45 minutes. Thomas brings it up the field, and Malik Johnson goes down, and that's going to lead to a foul call. So that's the only substitution thus far, and that's going to lead to a yellow card here. I believe that was against Alvarez.
And Alvarez has to be careful as well. The last thing the Independents want is to accumulate too many yellow cards going into playoffs, if they make the playoffs.
That's right. Alvarez picks up his 4th yellow, so he and Patrick Slogic now looking at a 1-game suspension with their next yellow card. Crowd has emptied out somewhat. Some kids who made the trip here tonight needed to get home because tomorrow is a school day.
That's the tough time. That's the tough part about the midweek games.
Yeah.
And the delay, of course, with the rain didn't help.
Yeah, we had a 40-minute delay in case you just joined us here tonight. Sharpie's pass went across the field, was in danger for just a moment, but Amika Ananye comes over to retrieve it. Now Johnson. Through ball, very nicely done. Bernal looks to catch up with it, leaves it across, and the ball went right in front as it was put up by Phillip. It was a golden opportunity for Edwards, but it was denied by Belial Duckett. Another important play by the center back. Here comes Herrera back the other way. He's muscled off the ball by Thomas.
That's a big player to play against.
Bono hits the deck after sending that goal kick, and not surprisingly, it winds up at the 4th officials table.
Yeah, Toronto had 2 bites on that cherry that could have produced something devastating to Independence, and a difficult start for the Independence in this second half. But they scuffed the opportunities, and Independence were able to come out with that ball and probably breathe a huge sigh of relief.
Usually Edwards takes advantage of opportunities like that. Aparicio now. Here's Raheem Edwards with it. He'll fire from distance, and he scores. It was deflected in. Looked like it caught Duckett's ankle, and it winds up going in the net. Raheem Edwards has tied the game in the 51st minute.
Raheem Edwards with way too much room, too much time on the ball to line up the shot.
Well, Sherwood got bailed out the first time, but this time they weren't as fortunate, and it looked like that Berner was fooled. I believe that ball went off the left ankle of Belial Duckett and in the corner of the net.
Charlotte coming out just a little flat in the second half than they did when they started the game. Not sure if the legs are starting to, the trips over the last few weeks are starting to.
Here's Danny Jackson. Yep, Danny Jackson charges back the other way. Skylar Thomas comes over and muscles him away, and Bono comes over to put the ball in his hands. So Edwards gets the goal to equalize the game at 1 here. Charlotte badly needs 3 points.
Charlotte now needs a response, and what kind of response are they going to produce here?
You talked about the weariness of the legs here that Charlotte may have. They played an awful lot of games in a short amount of time here.
They sure did.
And keep in mind that Charlotte has played much of the second half of the season with 2 or 3 games at hand against teams like Richmond and Charleston. They've had to play a lot of games in a short amount of time, midweek games each of the last 4 weeks here, including that Canadian trip and the midweek game against the New York Red Bulls too.
And that can take a toll on the players. Not only are we talking about the weariness of their bodies and their legs, but we're also talking about the disruption it gives to practices. So coaches are not able to work on things. They don't have time to work on the things that they actually want to work on because they're always preparing for the next game. They only have a couple of days between games, so not so much fluidity in terms of practices as much as coaches would like to prepare for games.
Ribeiro hit with the foul drawn by Manuel Aparicio. So Raheem Edwards scoring in the 51st minute. We did not hear an assist announced on the play. But it is now 1-1. Edwards puts one in the play. Slogic heads it away from danger. Cox eludes the ball past Edwards. Here comes a counter for Independence. Herrera down to the right. It's Danny Jackson with 3 blue shirts coming down, trailing behind him. Jackson. Slogic muscles it ahead to Herrera with 2 players on him. He'll look for a trailer. Jack Metcalf will supply that. Here's Herrera with the back heel trip. Give and go with Jackson. Bono is there to get on the ball. Good thought that time by Jorge. And now a long ball intended for Edwards. Duckett sends that away to Ribeiro. So once again, Charlotte, which has managed to come through in situations like this with a late goal, will need one here in order to get 3 points. Now Sal Bernal. Slogic steps in his path, and Bernal fouls him.
As a small guy trying to go through big trucks right there, that was not going to be successful at all. The guys just collapsed on him, and there was no way through. But an easy giveaway by Ribeiro, a square ball in the middle. One of the things you always teach your players or your young players not to do, never play the ball square across the middle. It's either diagonal back or diagonal forward.
That's right.
Because one touch from the opposition beats everybody.
Raheem Edwards picks up his 2nd goal of the year. Edwards has probably been the most consistent player on the field tonight for Toronto FC2. He had an opportunity when Rashawn Phillip set him up just 2 minutes before that goal that went by the boards, but then he let another opportunity go to his feet, and he managed to send in the shot to a low right corner that beat John Berner. So we're knotted at 1. If Charlotte gets only a point here tonight, they will come away with 38 points. That will put them, for now, ahead of Richmond in 5th place, but it also will put them in a danger area because Pittsburgh and Harrisburg City have games coming up this weekend. And they will have a game at hand against Charlotte after this one.
Correct. And Charlotte need to win this game because this is their last home game.
Down goes Zahorsky, and that's going to lead to a yellow card here.
That's a rough tackle.
Aparicio was the man guilty of it, I believe. Or is it going to be someone else here? Referee ordering the guilty party to come out. Yeah, it's going to be Skylar Thomas who's guilty of it. So Thomas picks up a yellow card. That'll be his 2nd of the year. And as more planes fly over us from Charlotte Douglas International Airport, you get used to hearing that sound every day, don't you? That's just something that's second nature to you by this point.
I didn't even notice until you said something.
Patrick works as a development teacher here at the Charlotte Soccer Academy. Jorge Herrera from 30 yards put it on net, and Bono had to come over to make the save. And Bono puts a sky ball in the air. Johnson will let it come down. Edwards will field it. Here comes Toronto. Bernal stripped from behind. Aparicio. Now it's Johnson. Tries to put it on net, but that was a sloppy kick.
Sloppy kick with his weaker foot as well. He's a left-footed player trying to shoot with his right foot. Not a bad attempt, but didn't catch it the way he wanted to.
We remain knotted at 1, and Toronto, after a flat first half where they only put up 3 shots, has come out as the aggressors here in the second, and they've knotted the game off a tally from Raheem Edwards. And we're going to have our first Toronto substitution at this next dead ball. But first, Slogic in the air, wins the header. Cox will charge back the other way. Moves in against the taller Skylar Thomas. Cox tries a nifty move. Instead, that one's taken back by Osorio. Looks like Bakovic has gone out of the game for Toronto FC2. Ribeiro goes down. Cleats went up high, and Ribeiro draws a foul against Raheem Edwards. So that's one substitution we didn't get. That's Nicholas Osorio in for 51, Robert Baskovic. So that was the first Toronto substitution. Or excuse me, Baskovic is still in there. Looks like he's in for Sharpie. And it looks like 62 is coming off the field, so Rashawn Phillip will leave the game now for Toronto FC2. And let's see who replaces him. Official doesn't have his lighted board up on the field tonight to announce substitutions. It is going to be 22 coming in. This is Jordan Hamilton in his second season from Scarborough, Ontario. Ball lifted in the box. It nearly was an own goal as it went off the head of Wesley Sharpie and went right in on net. Bono was there. So Horsky tried to knife between two players, but it nearly went off the body of Sharpie. Still knotted at 1. Edwards comes back the other way. Jukes to the left against Metcalf. Moves to the right, tries a through ball, but Burner will get there. In the 59th minute now, Jordan Hamilton scored the first goal in Toronto FC2 history back on March the 20th on opening night in USL action. Did that against Charleston. Really a game that Toronto FC2 should have won. They were up 2-0 at the end of the first quarter hour, but Charleston charged back and scored 2 goals in the last 10 minutes to win 3-2 on opening night.
Looks like a like-for-like change there with Hamilton moving up top, playing as a center forward. And I think that Johnson now slides back a little bit and plays that attacking midfielder role.
Jorge Herrera, that's usually been the theme. Oh, nice slide and a tackle there. Nicely done by Raheem Edwards. And that will free up Anthony Osorio.
And
Ribero's still down. Cross put on. Burner makes the play. And Carlos Alvarez also trying to work out the kinks as he went down as well.
Looks like a major case of cramps there.
Zahorsky charging back the other way against Skylar Thomas. This is a much more even battle when it comes to height. But is it in terms of speed? Zahorsky, the veteran, plays it for Cox.
Does a good job holding play because he was all by himself there.
Jackson tried to get the through ball to Herrera, but that was cut off nicely.
And here's the man you don't want to have the ball.
It's Raheem Edwards who already has a goal. Nice pass ahead. Oh, mishandled by Hamilton. That was a nifty pass, but it was going to be, it looks like, offside anyway. And we're going to have 3 substitutions in for Charlotte. 3 substitutions now coming in. Looks like Slogic's going to leave the game. Raphael Cox is out. Zahorsky will also leave, and Danny Jackson will leave. So Charlotte's going to take out the entire front line. And we hear the fans chanting something positive about Raphael Cox that you can decipher for yourself. Ryan Finley's coming in, the leading goal scorer on the team. And we'll get the other 2 substitutions here. Michael Bustamante is not here tonight because he just became a father. Just had a baby girl.
Congratulations to him.
Yeah, so he's back up in New Jersey, his home. Caleb Calvert has also come in. Here's Calvert charging back the other way. And it looks like number 11, Jack Thompson, has also checked in, the man who scored the first goal in Independence history on an assist from Jorge Herrera. So the heavy hitters are out. Calvert curls one in the box Herrera plays it to the right. Finley is there. Finley! Hallowed be thy name. Independence leads.
Nicely worked goal as well. Nicely worked, nice good sequence of passes. But again, the importance of good substitutions. Last Saturday, Caleb came in and did his thing as well, provided an assist. Today, Ryan Finley comes in and provides that spark that was needed.
It took less than a minute for Ryan Finley to make his presence felt, and the 24-year-old from Lumberton Township, New Jersey, scores his 7th goal of the year. That leads the team, and Charlotte needed it badly. In the 62nd minute, they reassumed the lead 2-1.
Just when the game looked like Toronto was taking over, the subs come in and they make a change. That's the kind of substitutions you want, the kind of subs you want to come and affect the game, rather than just changing players on the field. And I'm pretty sure Coach Mark Jeffries will be pretty happy about that.
Oh, no question about it. Finley curled that one in and does what he's supposed to do, finishes just as he did against the Carolina Railhawks to put Independence into the next round of the U.S. Open Cup. Scored the only goal that night in Cary, and tonight he scores one here that gives Charlotte a 2-1 lead.
Now, only if he can keep himself out of trouble.
That's going to be the main thing. Ryan has a penchant for getting himself into that. He picked up a red card last time out, or second to last time out against Pittsburgh. Nice touch here. Herrera flings it to the right. Caleb Calvert looks in the box. Feeds it across all the rails. Oh, the volley!
Whoa, oh my gosh.
Jack Thompson.
You couldn't have scripted that any better.
As die by the sword, Jack Thompson.
Substitutes combining to provide a wonderful goal. What a finish, though. It's a brilliant pass, brilliant cross by Calvert. Fantastic technique to the back post and a one-time side volley by Jack Thompson.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's got to go down as one of the best goals of the year for Independence.
One of the best goals I've seen this year, bar none, in terms of whether Premier League, MLS,
regardless of league.
It's just, that was a fantastic goal.
Fantastic goal by Jack Thompson on an assist from Caleb Calvert. As wonderful a delivery as you will see, and in the blink of an eye, it is now 3-1. Charlotte, after some nervous minutes after Raheem Edwards wound up scoring, has substitutes report in a 3-man substitution spree there for head coach Mike Jeffries, and it results in goals from Ryan Finley and there from Jack Thompson.
And if you include Jorge in that sequence as well, you're talking about all 4 substitutions being involved in that play.
That's right.
The ball went to Jorge, it went to Finley, back to Jorge, and it went wide to Caleb Calvert, who puts in a cross, and then Thompson, of course, with that thunderous finish.
For Caleb Calvert, that will be his 2nd assist. Caleb has had all of his points so far this season come in the last month of the year. Caleb could have easily had an assist on a goal that Enzo Martinez scored against Wilmington way back on April the 3rd, but the score that night didn't give him one. I thought he should have gotten it, but he'll certainly get one there off a gorgeous volley from Jack Thompson. Here's Finley back the other way. So Charlotte up 3-1 now, as they are closer to 3 points. Herrera ran into the taller Skylar Thomas. Just some electric moments here tonight, and the fans that have stuck with us saw 2 pretty goals, including the volley there from Jack Thompson. When it comes to top Independence goals, just off the top of my head, you'd have to go back to the opener that Ryan Finley scored against Richmond over at Winthrop University. Just a gorgeous finish that was supplied to him by Marlon Hairston. That would probably be number 1 on the list, and then the goal there from Thompson from Calvert maybe is number 2. I have to go back in time and check, but that was a gorgeous volley.
You have to throw in Jorge's PK.
That's right.
On Saturday. That was a pretty cheeky finish.
Oh, sure. That was a unique one that managed to fool the Wilmington keeper. All out of play. That was a line drive put on by Berner that sent some folks in the fourth officials table scurrying. So 3-1, and things much more relaxed here. But Toronto's not relaxing. Edwards tries to get through on a cross. That was denied by Metcalf.
It was the response the Independence needed, because this game could have gotten so much worse had they not responded quickly and in emphatic fashion like that.
Here's Edwards leaving it nicely for Hamilton, who put it on net. Nice save by Berner, who just got both fists on it on a shot that was rising. Hamilton got what he wanted out of that. It was just a good save by John. So that leads to only the second corner of the night for Toronto FC2. Charlotte has had 3. Edwards will put it in. Goes in on net. Thomas can't hit it down. From distance, Berner denied. And once again, Belial Duckett, doing his job at center back position, sends it out of play. We were talking about Meshach Jerome and the job he did for Haiti. He is en route back to Charlotte now, and he should be back with the team in time for Saturday's game against St. Louis FC. Here comes Jorge Herrera. Charlotte mounts a counter. Finley trying to position himself. Caleb Calvert will come down on the right. Toronto's had time to get players back now. Finley, Metcalf. Caleb Calvert to the left now, looking a lot more confident in his dribbling abilities. On the right channel, Jack Metcalf. Charlotte doesn't mind running some clock here, up 3-1. Just over 20 minutes to play. And Jorge, the little man, still out there amongst 3 red shirts, goes down. And the foul's going to be whistled against Jorge for simulation. I guess they felt he took a dive.
I'm not sure about that, because Jorge is not the type of player. I know Jorge very well. He's not that kind of player. He got pushed. I think they got his feet tangled there. There was no reason for him to fall down.
And Jorge, a longtime favorite here, a veteran who played with the Charlotte Eagles and was the first player signed in Independence history. Understandably has a huge fan following, and the lack of a foul call there got among the loudest responses of the night.
Well, because the fans know Jorge. They know the kind of player he is. They know he's not the player to dive.
Berner boots it away. Running step for step is Finley. Tries to retrieve the ball, going up against Amika Ananye. Ananye will win the ball. And it's going to be a throw in for Toronto FC2. We told you that the New York Red Bulls were tied at the half. And we'll pull out the old Twitter machine to see if anything has changed with their game against FC Montreal, because that one does have some difference, and it's some good news for Charlotte. Alexandre Rigi scored for Montreal. He scored twice for Montreal. FC Montreal beats the New York Red Bulls 2-0.
Wow.
And that's good news for Charlotte.
That is good news for Charlotte.
Here's Edwards with another lift to the net, but Berner manages to bring this one in. So with that, Charlotte with a win here tonight, if they can hold on to this 2-goal lead, will be only 2 points back of third place with the Red Bulls. And both teams, well, actually Charlotte will have 2 games still to play. They'll still have a game at hand against the Red Bulls,
which is a great position to be in, because they go on the road in the next couple of games.
It'll be St. Louis FC2 on Saturday in the Midwest. The furthest trip west this year for Charlotte. And after that, a familiar trip down south to Blackbaud Stadium, one that Charlotte has made already once this year. They came away with a 1-1 tie back in the spring against Charleston Battery. It's hard to believe that Battery and Richmond are in jeopardy of missing the playoffs, but that's the predicament they find themselves in now.
Right.
Here's Osorio on for Edwards. He'll move to the right, finds some room, wins the duel against Metcalf, tries to put it on net, gets a corner out of it.
Edwards has really come into his own in this game. Gradually, as the game wore on in the first half, we saw a little bit of what he could do, but in the second half, he just took over. And Benau is not as effective as he was in the first half, but Edwards really giving Independence a torrid time on the left side.
He has been the most assertive player in a red uniform tonight. There he put in a corner, but Amika Ananye, bidding for his first goal of the season, placed it wide to the left. Charlotte only has one more substitution remaining. Toronto FC has 4 at their disposal. But Charlotte, moments after they made that substitution, poured on an onslaught offensively.
And it looks like they've called up upon 2 substitutes right now.
They were warming up in the corner near the Met deck, and now a couple of them have reported to the head coach, Jason Kent. Chris Manella has reported in as well, as you see, number 20 there. He got the start last time out against Charlotte. Manella. And it's going to be a foul here. It's going to be an offside call.
I think it's a throw-in.
It's going to be a throw-in. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Outside. Yeah.
That's right. I knew there was a little too far up the field there for that to be an offside. So Metcalf looks to trigger it in the attacking third. Herrera, Metcalf, given away. Manella. Charlotte leads 3-1. They scored 2 goals within a second, within just a couple of minutes, or actually 1 minute, of Ryan Finley, Jack Thompson, and Caleb Calvert checking into this game. A 3-way substitution, something Mike Jeffries very rarely does, but boy did it pay dividends tonight.
And immediate. The dividends were quite immediate. And they cannot relax, Independence cannot relax right now because there's still quite a lot of playing time left in this game.
Malik Johnson being head checked quite hard. Looked like an elbow got thrown in there. Looks like he and Alvarez are working hard against one another. Slogic will take over the ball. Corkscrew, can't get it up the field. That's Aparicio, and a foul whistle. Offside will be called against Toronto FC 2, and that's going to lead to our 3rd substitution, and it looks like that Wesley Sharpie will be leaving the field. Looks like 2 players are going to go out. Sharpie is out, and Anthony Osorio will be out. And it looks like a 3rd player is leaving as well. That's Sal Bernal. So with that, Toronto will have 1 substitution remaining. Let's see who's coming in for them there. It's going to be Massimo Mirabelli in. And we'll get the other 2 players here in just a moment. Mirabelli is in the game, as we just told you. Like Sharpie stayed in the game. He went to the bench just to get a water break, so he's still in the contest. Let me correct myself there. As we're in the 75th minute. Aparicio remains in. So does Amika Ananye. 1 substitution, Chris Manella goes to midfield. We've seen Jordan Hamilton substitute in, so Toronto still has 1 remaining, as we told you. Back the other way on the left, Ananye plays it for Raheem Edwards, who scored the goal for Toronto FC 2 in the 51st minute. Looked like things would be dicey for Charlotte from that point on, but then along came the triumphant of Thompson, Finley, and Calvert, and after that, things have never been the same here tonight in the Queen City. Giveaway, Herrera will take it back. Jorge also checked in during the second half. Alvarez plays it on the right. Caleb Calvert will catch up to it. He looks to set it up in the box for Herrera, but that pass was tipped by Edwards, and he'll be taken back by Benella. Mirabelli now. And the 76th minute. Long ball supplied by Edwards. Burner, indecisive, nearly slipped and fell on the turf coming out of the box. He was going to play that with his feet, but had to adjust once he realized pressure was cracking down and sent it away for a throw.
So Toronto has now gone to 3 back with 5 in midfield and 2 forwards up top.
Hamilton, and one of those backs that remain in the game, Patrick, is Skylar Thomas.
Yes.
Hamilton here moves in against Ribeiro. Edwards will put the cross in on net, and it's just headed wide.
And it nearly paid dividends.
That was Marcus Gahino in the game. 1 substitute we didn't announce a moment ago. So he is now in the contest, 36. Marcus Gahino in the contest for Toronto FC2. He represents their fourth substitution. They have one remaining.
And it looks like Edwards is playing a much more deeper role now on the left wing. He has to play a little bit more defensive than he wants to, but he's got the whole flank to operate. And Thomas Manela has come in to help Osorio right in the center of the midfield as holding midfielders, with Massimo moving up top to help Johnson.
Malik Johnson couldn't keep the ball in play there. Slogic sends it up the field. As we're approaching the 78th minute, and Charlotte about to get 3 very big points if they can hold on, barring a collapse. They lead 3-1 on the strength of goals that came within a very short time of one another from Ryan Finley, and a gorgeous one from Jack Thompson that will be on the highlight reel this week for Goal of the Week.
That would be not only in that highlight reel, but in his own highlight reel
No
as well.
question.
He's going to keep that one for the rest of his life.
Along with scoring the first goal in team history.
Yes, sir.
That was supplied by Jorge Herrera on opening night against Charleston. Here he put one right on the money on a gorgeous cross by Caleb Calvert. Foul called. And it'll be a free kick for Toronto FC2. So as we told you, Charlotte will play on Saturday against St. Louis. That'll be a Central Time Zone kickoff, and then the regular season ends on Saturday, September 19th against Charleston. In the box, Alvarez kicks it away. Finley moves it to midfield. Ananye, sloppy pass there. Easy interception by Finley, but he was stripped away quickly. Aparicio did the honors. 3-1. And it seems like not only did Charlotte strip Toronto of a chance to tie this game, but they also really stripped a lot of their offensive aggressiveness. Toronto has had a couple of chances, but Charlotte has been much, much better defensively over the last 15 minutes.
And they have to keep their concentration now, Charlotte. They can't give up any easy goals, as that will give Toronto more momentum coming in.
Toronto FC2 will not be shut out tonight, and they've continued to play much better offensively, just like a lot of the academy teams. They get better as the season has gone on, as we've seen with FC Montreal as well. After a dismal start, they have continued to play well, even though they snapped a losing streak tonight. The point is they wound up going to New York and won against Red Bulls 2 in a big game for New York.
It's a very good team. It's a very high possession rate team. They are very good on the ball. They are very good with their movements. But also they try to possess in your half and wear you down. So they try to move you side to side, and make you lose your concentration. But it wears teams down when a team like Toronto can possess the way they're possessing right now. Charlotte, all they need to do now, they're up 3-1. They don't need to be rushing into tackles, diving in or anything like that. They just need to maintain their shape and just be patient and let them have the ball in front of them. As long as they have the ball in front of them, they're not dangerous. It's when they start turning them around and breaking the lines when they get Toronto gets dangerous. So they can't dive in. They have to remain patient.
And of course, staying disciplined is the most important thing for Charlotte. Toronto just made its final substitution. Aparicio has left the field. Luca Uccello is in the game, one of the regulars for Toronto FC2. Luca Uccello from Markham, Ontario, a rookie making his 19th appearance this year for the Reds. Signed his first pro contract in March with this team and made his pro debut just 6 days later against Charleston. He joined the Toronto FC Academy at the age of 14. Uccello is all of 18 years old playing tonight. They grab them young, do these academy teams.
They do. And it would have been fantastic because we had 2 Charlotte-based academies here earlier on watching the game. But because of the delay, they had to leave and go to school tomorrow morning. But it would have been great for them to watch some of the academy players that they play against.
That's right.
Getting regular games in the USL as professionals.
Good long ball put up here by Ananye, but that was broken up very well. Well, you talked about 14 years old. I mean, gosh, Uccello was roughly the same age as some of the kids who are still here tonight. And he was going with his professional career at a very young age.
Yeah, we had players from Charlotte Soccer Academy and players from the Carolina Rapids here earlier who were playing the U.S. Development Academy
That's
program.
right. Of course, in Toronto, it's a different animal because hockey is the national, well, it's not the official national sport. Actually, lacrosse is the official national sport of Canada, but
Oh, I didn't know that.
that's right. But when you get right down to it, it's a hockey country. And soccer is one of those sports that struggles for recognition, but it's still gaining a following after the remarkable run of Montreal Impact in the CONCACAF Champions League last year as the pass comes in from Herrera. Now, Calvert tried to put it on net. That was blocked away by Ananye. Ribeiro and Alvarez will let some more clock run. You hope that soccer will continue to maintain a following in Canada, considering that Vancouver is doing well right now in the CONCACAF Champions League, and they have a great rivalry with the Portland Timbers and the Seattle Sounders.
Yes.
On the other side of the country, of course, is the question because Toronto and Montreal are such hockey hotbeds where it's every bit as established as football, American football is here. So it's not easy for those teams, but on the other hand, Toronto does have an academy established, and they have their own soccer-specific stadium.
Yeah, speaking of that area, the northwest area, I lived there for 4 years. I went to school there.
Oh, really?
Yes, I went to a small college there. It's called Coben University. I did my first 4 years there. So I grew up, I mean, not grew up, but I watched the Portland Timbers develop from an A-League team to an MLS team that they are now, a big powerhouse in the MLS. But also Seattle Sounders and Vancouver coming through. The rivalry between those three teams have always been great, and the fans around that area are fantastic.
I look on YouTube sometimes at some of the TIFO preparations that the Timber fans and the Sounders fans will put. I mean, they will take time off their jobs and work weeks on end for these TIFOs that are some of the most magnificent things you could ever see. And you want to talk about something that will add to an atmosphere at a stadium. It is one of the most wonderful things you'll ever see. And the Timbers Army, if you take a look at some of their fans, they'll tell you, hey, at the beginning, when we were still in USL, it was 8 of us banging on a drum. And now it's on a bad night, 22,000 fans every single night. And that's how it continues to be.
It's a fantastic. They've created a culture that is unmatched by any. And I think Charlotte has the potential to get there.
Absolutely. Just have to sit back and watch it grow. In the 85th minute now, Raheem Edwards to Hamilton. Charlotte looks like they have put this game away after goals. In the 60th minute, just a minute apart from Ryan Finley and from Jack Thompson, which will be on the highlight reel. Excellent pass up the field. Slogic will be tested here, and Henry Kalungi comes over to take the ball away as Charlotte back line once again does its job. John Berner hasn't seen all too much come his way after giving up the goal from Raheem Edwards. That ball glanced off the ankle of Duckett and went into the right corner of the net. It was a pretty goal.
It was a pretty goal. Edwards caught that ball pretty well.
Ribeiro, Jorge Herrera. And so Charlotte will end the night with 3 points. And the question is, can they go on the road and finish the job? They have just 2 road wins this year. If you're looking for comparison's sake, in the Western Conference, 5 of the 6 teams have made the playoffs. And just trying to get an estimation of things here, Sacramento Republic got into the playoffs with 41 points. Charlotte, by the end of this game, will have 40, barring a collapse. Of course, Sacramento still has some games remaining. Ribeiro takes Hamilton down. That leads to a foul. On the right side, entering the box, coming up is Hamilton. But a poor shot there on the ground. There are too many blue shirts for that ball to navigate its way through in order to find the net. Slogic can put that out immediately.
He had no conviction whatsoever in his shot there.
And the grounder put forward, and the save once again is made. Manello with the opportunity at that time, but John Berner put that one in his hands from the 6-yard box as time floats away here. And what will be the regular season finale, but if things continue to go Charlotte's way, they control their own fate in not only making the playoffs, but getting a home playoff game here in Charlotte. Long ball ahead. Edwards slides, keeps it in play very nicely, but Metcalf comes on to intercept it and clear it away.
Charlotte's transition right now from defense to offense seems just a little bit slower than that they want to. Jorge urging his teammates to come forward, but Charlotte is slow to move up. So this is giving Toronto too much possession and allowing them to come down the field and attack Charlotte. So basically Charlotte is inviting pressure rather than moving up and containing them up a little bit higher up the field.
Kalungi discarded that header that was put into the box by Edwards. And now we're going to have, referee was pointing to the net. It's going to be a foul called against Toronto.
And this is what I'm talking about, Jeff. So instead of moving up quickly or running up into position and then rest, they're resting while they're still in their box. So keeper is going to have to wait a little bit longer or play the ball up to Finley by himself and Finley try to hold the ball against 3 defenders, which is difficult. So they're always going to have to defend. So now players up.
And Brenner sends it away up the field.
And now you can win the second ball.
That's right. And that's exactly what Carlos Alvarez did there. The lead pass, too far. That was supplied by Thompson. So Ryan Finley looks like he is going to get the game winner unless Toronto can score here one late. For Finley, that would be his 2nd game winner of the year in USL play, his 3rd overall. He had the game winner, as we mentioned earlier, against the Carolina Railhawks in the 2nd round of the U.S. Open Cup that moved Charlotte into New England to play the New England Revolution, and that started really the most successful week in the short history of this franchise. They defeated the Revolution in New England. Then they turned around, opened up Ramblewood Soccer Complex, and knocked off the Charleston Battery on a goal from Tomas Zahorsky in the 89th minute. And you can bet that will be on Charleston's mind when they get a rematch with Charlotte a week from this Saturday with an awful lot on the line. Mirabelli. Metcalf disrupts that and intercepts it. Now Finley will charge in from the right. Finley on a breakaway. Ryan Finley in the net.
What an individual goal. What a brilliant goal. Ryan Finley notices there's no defender behind. That's the problem when you play with 3 center backs, with 3 defenders. Ryan Finley recognizes that situation, turns on the defender, and just turns on the power. Nutmegs the goalkeeper.
And goody gumdrops for Independence. Ryan Finley has a brace, his 8th of the year.
And
Charlotte leads 4-1.
And surely that puts the game to bed.
That's right. If it wasn't in bed before. It's been a long night for Independence fans. They had to wait 45 minutes longer for kickoff because of a thunderstorm that barged through the area. There's been rain throughout the day here in Mecklenburg County, but in South Charlotte, there'll be a celebration tonight as Charlotte scores the most goals that they've had since the win over Rochester when they put up 4 against the Rhinos back on August 1st. 4-1 the score. Finley notches a brace, his 1st of the season. A dandy effort. We'll see who'll get the assist there. Could be Herrera who gets it. We'll check and see after the game. Kalungi. Well, Patrick, this is a huge result here for Charlotte as the time rides away. And now as this team goes on the road here to finish out what's been a long stretch of games.
It's a big result, but it's also a big confidence booster. Coming out of this game, especially the way they gave up goals against Wilmington. Even though they came back and tied that game, to win today against a fantastic team like Montreal is a good result for Independence.
You got to remember, this is their 9th game in 38 days, so they've stretched a lot of games into a short amount of time.
That is correct.
Have a whistle, and we see a player down I believe that's Andrew Ribeiro who's on the turf. And the head official is calling out for the trainers immediately. Troy Sins, one of the assistant coaches, coming out. And let me check that. That is not Ribeiro. I believe that might be Patrick Slogic.
I think it looks like Patrick Slogic.
Yeah. Slogic missed the Wilmington game by the coast because of an injury. He stayed home for that one. Fortunately, Charlotte did have Chris Astridge return to the lineup that night. That was the first time Chris had played since he got injured in the final friendly of the year. That was against the Carolina Railhawks over in Cary. That was way back in early March. Chris got hurt in that game, and that's still his only appearance of the year. He was counted on as being one of the stalwarts on the back line. But he never got going this year, and Charlotte will concede possession here as the clock winds down as we have entered stoppage time. Haven't had an announcement of how many minutes will be added on to the game here, but Charlotte has put it away here, leading 4-1 in what will be the most decisive victory. Well, it'll tie the Richmond game for most decisive victory in the team's young history. Jorge Herrera. Charlotte defeated Richmond in the first game you and I did, Patrick.
Right,
as a matter of fact, over at Winthrop, 3-0. That was back on May the 8th. And then they had a 4-2 victory over Rochester. Here tonight, though, they left little doubt. It was huge substitutions made here by Mike Jeffries that led to Charlotte to a tie for fourth. Long ball provided here. Caleb Calvert. Finley is going to go for the hat trick. He's got it left box. Ryan in a 1v1 going to hold up. Oh, and now he goes down hard to the turf, and the foul will be called. I don't think Wesley Sharpie wanted to give up that last goal. And he certainly didn't want to give up one here.
It's a little bit of a wrestling match going on down there.
I would have made Ric Flair proud if he were in the audience here tonight with the way he grabbed the waist lock on him.
And Finley's not a small player. He's a big player to throw down like that.
They've already got the cleanup crews out here tonight. We haven't even finished the game. So that tells you that it's been a long evening.
Everyone
Shot comes in on net. Bono puts that away. Raheem Edwards will do that wrestling match there. And there is the final whistle. And Charlotte fans stand and rise. Not as many of them around as there were at the beginning of the game, but Charlotte finishes up the regular season home campaign with 10 wins this year. They win their 8th game of the year here at home. They finish up the home campaign 8-2-4. So Charlotte wound up winning of the 14 home games this year. They wound up taking home 8 of them, and they only lost twice here. And now the question is, Patrick, will there be another game here at Ramblewood Soccer Complex? Charlotte, for now, is tied for 4th place with Charleston after their 10th win of the season, and Charlotte has ensured that this will be a winning season in their inaugural campaign.
They've done a fantastic job running towards the end of the year. As the season drew towards the end, putting together a 12 unbeaten run is not an easy thing, especially in this division. This is a difficult division to play in, and Charlotte has done a fantastic job. We all hope there will be another game at Ramblewood.
Absolutely. Well, Charlotte winds up getting a goal from Tomas Zaharski in the 23rd minute tonight. Raheem Edwards evened the game for Toronto FC2 in the 51st minute, but then Charlotte came out and made 3 substitutions that changed the course of this game. Ryan Finley, Jack Thompson, and Caleb Calvert were all inserted into the game, and after that, offense followed in bunches. First, it was a goal by Ryan Finley, and after that, a highlight reel goal put in by Jack Thompson on an assist from Caleb Calvert. Ryan Finley finished up things with a late goal. And Jack's Militia celebrating one last time here at Ramblewood Soccer Complex this season Will there be another game at Ramblewood? That is the question. But for now, Charlotte did what they had to do, and that's get 3 points in the standings. And the Charlotte players going over and celebrating. They didn't get a chance to celebrate in the season opener, a 3-2 loss to Charleston Battery. But the celebration on here tonight. And if Charlotte has its way, there will be one more game here at Ramblewood this season as Independence wins tonight over Toronto FC2 4-1. Well, Patrick, I hope we get to do one more game here this year, sir. And if we don't, it's been a pleasure working with you.
It's been a pleasure, Jeff. It's been a real pleasure.
And folks, if you want to get great soccer instruction, call the folks here at Ramblewood Soccer Complex, because Patrick cannot go further than 100 feet in the stadium without somebody shaking his hand, a parent coming over, a child coming over and talking to him, because he is as friendly and affable a fellow as you will ever find.
I've been in this town for a long time.
Absolutely.
Yes.
On and off the field coaching.
Yes.
And we appreciate you coming aboard to do color with us. And hopefully you'll get a chance to hear us one more time here on Charlotte Independence's YouTube channel. If not, keep in mind all playoff games involving Charlotte and not involving Charlotte are right here via the USL page here on YouTube. Thank you for joining us here throughout the season for Charlotte Independent Soccer, and we hope to talk to you one more time before the season ends. Charlotte takes another step to the playoffs tonight as they down Toronto FC2 4-1. Good night from the Queen City.